Hello, good morning and welcome to Thoughts and Updates. It's sunrise here in sunny Scotland. As you can see, the sun behind me coming up to start another day. I am where I ought to be, at home. It's been an interesting weekend because in some places it's been suggested that there's going to be a bit of a heat wave in the United Kingdom, and that would mean that people would take the opportunity to go out and break the lockdown that we're currently in because of the coronavirus. And it apparently hasn't happened the way that some people thought it might. That what we've got is that vast majority of people are doing exactly what they're supposed to do and staying at home, which is exactly the way it ought to be. COVID-19, or the coronavirus, is spread through contact. There is no antidote, there is no serum, there is no vaccine in order to solve it, and yet people still go out of their way to find something which is going to somehow convince them and other people that it happens in a particular way, that it's some kind of conspiracy, that the government are attempting to do something to us all, or the Chinese, or whatever it might be. Conspiracy theories are absolutely fine normally, but what this leads to is people acting in a manner which they are wanting to. So there are mobile phone masts being burnt, one of which, I think 2 were in Liverpool over the last 2 or 3 days, because there was a belief spread about that the 5G network that's being put in place throughout the United Kingdom is what's spreading the virus. No matter how mad, idiotic, stupid we might think that is, what these rumours do is they put people's lives at risk, first of all, in the same way in the past where the Jimmy Savile thing came out, and somewhere in deepest, darkest Wales, a woman was attacked because she was a paediatrician, because the mob didn't understand the difference between a paedophile and a paediatrician. Now we have workers who are out trying to put up phone masts who are being attacked verbally, some physically. I understand, I don't have the evidence of this, and I'm not here to spread rumours either, like a conspiracy theorist must, but I do know that there have been fires started at a couple of these masts, and therefore what happens is that those workers who are responsible for putting these masts up are put at risk, not just from being out and doing what they're supposed to be doing and earning a wage for their family, but also from a mob mentality. The other risk that people are putting themselves at, and their families, and the people closest to them, and the people who are out there currently doing things like this, doing work in order to feed their families, is the spread of the virus, because they don't understand how it's spread. It's spread by human contact. It's spread in the air. It's not spread by 5G. And as for the anti-vaxxers, the people who believe that vaccination is not the way to combat things, that somehow there is a secret agenda somewhere that's being done. We're now in a pandemic where we don't have a cure, we don't have any kind of vaccine in order to stop this spreading. So I'm quite sure they'll be getting £60 fines every day, leading up to 960 quid of fines, because they're going to be out there, they're going to be demonstrating to all of us, they'll be getting in boats to go to Italy and Spain in order to demonstrate to us just exactly how right they've been. Or are they going to be staying at home realising and understanding that in actual fact the truth of the matter is it's not a government conspiracy, it's not the Chinese, it's not the Jews, it's not anything other than human behaviour which has led to something beginning that human beings at this moment in time cannot stop. Or will they come back at some point in the future with yet another conspiracy that the Rothschilds are making Richard Branson go for money from the government in order to support his right-wing agenda, or whatever it may be? And it's businesses that I I still feel sorry for, and I do feel sorry for those who are small businesses in particular. I've talked about Galoni's locally, about the University Cafe in Byers Road, about Ronaldo's down at my hometown in Ayr. Each of these have done something in order to try and help by either lowering prices, staying open, doing whatever they can do in order to feed. We were hoping for a treat on Friday night and getting something delivered, and our Just Eat delivery was cancelled like that because the restaurant had something like 90 orders, because people are clearly struggling, and that sort of help is important. And talking of help, I went yesterday to Tesco's as I did last week, and it's thrown my weekend out. Normally on a Saturday morning I'll get up at 6 o'clock or thereabouts. I do my work for my company I work for. That'd be during the day, and I'm doing a lot of writing. But I've got to go to the supermarket instead, and it's throwing everything out of kilter. So I'm not getting through the writing that I normally would. But some of the businesses that I really do think need our support at the end of this, and I put a Facebook post up yesterday, and I think it's massively important. I've asked a week, 2 weeks ago, where does all this money come from that's suddenly available in order to pay 80% of people's wages? Where is the money coming from in order to support businesses in a similar way? I'm not suggesting that the money shouldn't be there. What I'm asking is that when we have struggled in order to feed the homeless, in order to house the needy, in order to support services, including the National Health Service, there's been no money. Now there's a day of reckoning for all of us coming. And I think it's that point at which we look at our politicians and we say, from this point onwards, see what you were able to do when our backs were against the wall. That's what we should be doing when our heads are held high and we're capable and able. The money that's collected from taxes from individuals and from small businesses and from those corporations who are willing to contribute to the National Health Service are massively important and should not be forgotten, because we've parked the idea of tax in this country. We don't see tax as a positive thing. What we see it as is theft, and it's not. The Professional Players Association down in England have pointed out that these vastly overpaid Premier League stars taking a 30% wage cut means that £200 million is lost in tax revenue, which is therefore a cut to public services. And I agree that they should be taking a pay cut. I think it's difficult to look at your £60,000 a week Premier League player who, or however they're on every week, still getting that whilst they're furloughing and they're putting non-playing staff into somewhere where their job is under threat and their wages are cut in order to save the club. Surely cancelling one contract at that level would save the jobs of all the working class people who are currently working in the office, or are catering staff, or are day staff, or are working on the turnstiles. But that also is very simplistic, and I understand that. The boxers who are not going to get through this are going to come through the other end, and are going to have to have given up the sport because they can't afford this. There's no income coming through the door at the moment. You fight twice, 3 times a year, 5 times if you're on the way up. That's it, that's your earning night. What do you replace that with? Sparring, you're not allowed to go and spar. Personal training, not allowed to personally train. Innovative ways in order to create money. Yep. Now, on top of that, we've seen stars come out and have tried to raise our spirits, and some of them have had a bit of a rattle on Twitter from people who don't like what they've done, and particularly Piers Morgan has ironically gathered the headlines by listing stars that he think are responsible for gathering headlines during this crisis. Piers have a wee think, son. I know that you feel that, people are at it, like Sam Smith, and they were certainly a little bit over the top and all the rest of it, but simply by keeping going on about it, you draw attention to it, and therefore you're part of the problem, not the solution. It's probably a common theme in Piers Morgan's career. However, what we have got is as I was saying earlier on, a number of businesses who should be supported, and a number of businesses have been shown, like Virgin, like Next, like Wetherspoons. And the Glasgow Brewery have turned around and said, we are not supplying Wetherspoons ever again, is a stance that every single individual at the end of this should be taking. We should have ethical opportunities to demonstrate our ethics, both politically, morally, and economically. We're able to spend money, so let's spend it in a way that it means that we get something back in terms of pride. I mentioned earlier on, I go to Tesco's very early in the Saturday morning. I had to go in with my wee badge yesterday to prove that I was a key worker, which I did, in order to spend an hour and a half wandering around Tesco's, seeing shelves that were more or less filled. Tinned goods and pasta still a little light, though we've got plenty of both here. Not because we've hoarded, but because that's stuff that we would buy normally anyway and have done. But there's workers again, and I notice my old mate Stuart Galloway having a right royal go, because these are the workers who are not getting the applause that the NHS workers are getting. The Royal Mail delivery drivers, the Royal Mail posties, the delivery drivers for other people, like the ones who delivered my daughter's birthday present early yesterday. They're equally trying to maintain not just an income for their family, but a service for us, putting their lives and their families' lives at risk. So staying at home is important. This week, because I've been staying at home, not running about, I've not been listening to many podcasts, but I've just listened to a fantastic podcast serial, Inspector West. Very 1960s, incredibly 1960s. I've read a couple of John Creasy's books with Inspector West, and it's not the same character. The character hasn't translated from one to the other. The Inspector West in the books is far more languid and laid back than in the dramatised version of it. Look forward to Ray Brooke and the Detective, which is coming up on Monday as a serialisation, and one that I've just finished the first series of listening to. The audio dramatisation has Ross Kemp and Toby Jones in it. There's an odd mix. Called The Corrupted. G.F. Newman's The Corrupted, a brilliant adaptation of a fantastic series of stories around a family in London that goes from the 1950s, late 50s, early 60s, right through to Thatcher's reign, which is well worth. Both are in BBC. I was going to say iSounds. It's of course BBC Sounds now. It was on the BBC Radio iPlayer before. I ranted about that before. So I need to get my head round writing again, because it's something I've not had my head round over the last couple of weeks, just because finding, as in a new set of circumstances, and getting ourselves settled has been difficult. So Ringside Report, I'm in the middle of Luigi Mancelli's wee review of his career. What a fantastic career, Italian boxer, 76 Olympian, went on to fight for a world title, but left in a footnote of history, had a tremendous fight for the world title, which I will go into some depth. I'm also working a little bit about the United States Olympic team, boxing team, that ended up in a plane accident a la Munich air crash, which was a great loss to American boxing. A number of prospects in there that people thought were going to really make it. Also this week, the announcement that the Edinburgh festivals have been cancelled, and then the suggestion later on there's a possibility that the festivals may come back in some kind of form. I obviously spend a lot of time in the Edinburgh Fringe in August, and I'm not going to have that this year because it's not going to be there in the way in which it has in the past. And I was talking a few weeks back about Shauna, a colleague of mine, who'd asked me to try and get some kind of programme together for her, and I was going to start doing that, and now I have to stop doing that because there ain't nothing happening. Artists are suffering. A lot of creative ways of doing things online. Musicians who started a concert on Friday night at midnight and ran it for 24 hours, including Katie Tunstall. Just going back to businesses, I noticed this morning John Bon Jovi has been dishwashing in his restaurant that he uses to feed the homeless. That's a real rock star, in my opinion. Probably because he knows what it's like to live in a prayer, not on hot food. So there's a lot of people out there who've come into my Twitter feed who were due to be there in August who are already money out. It probably means a lot of artists and artistic companies are not going to lose the £7,000-8,000 that they normally do by going to Edinburgh in August. But it also means the opportunity to showcase, pick up the next job is not there. And like boxers, I've got a funny feeling there's a lot of artists out there who at the end of all this are going to come out, and instead of having the wee jobs that they do in order to be able to continue to be artists, there's a possibility that they're going to continue just to do those wee day jobs and those wee simple jobs, and their careers are going to suddenly alter. Congratulations to Sir Keir Starmer, who unsurprisingly became leader of the Labour Party. More of that as we go on. There's a real job out there to be done. So, from quiet, thankfully, sunny Kirkintilloch in Scotland as the sun rises upon God's own country. Till next week, from Thoughts and Updates. Bye for now.